Hi, so we're here today with Adam von Reyn from InsightSquared, and we're going to talk about account-based marketing and using predictive analytics.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Awesome.
Absolutely.
So let's just jump right into it. So who's ABM for? Who should even be thinking about implementing a account-based marketing strategy? I know it got a lot of traction with the enterprise space over the last year, but should small businesses also consider using this strategy?
Yeah, I think the idea was that it made perfect sense for the enterprise. If you're selling to an easy to define set of accounts, large value accounts, ABM just makes sense. The expansion now into SMB, I think, is driven partially by the idea that sales teams have been selling this way for a long time. Sales teams understand there are multiple decision makers in the buying process. Marketing was coming at it from a lead-based view. So in some ways, ABM sort of resolves this misalignment that was happening between marketing saying, I have a person here that wants to talk to you, and sales saying, we need the whole account engaged. So I think it's a convergence of that with new technology that's making it easier to run these programs at scale, whereas 10, 15 years ago, it simply would have been hard to execute a strategy like this against tens of thousands of accounts.
And what are some of the biggest benefits that you find in terms of implementing an account-based marketing strategy? I know some of the things that we've heard that are really positive outcomes is you can focus your marketing more on the kind of customer pain point versus thinking so much about just product and blasting a wide audience.
Yeah, I mean, inherently you have to know something about this segment or subsegment of accounts that you're going after. So for us, we can sell to, there are 100,000 or so companies maybe that could buy our solution, but we start breaking it down, first using Predictive to kind of identify accounts that look like they have a higher propensity to close. But then within those, we can look for these sub-cohorts of accounts that have something in common. So there might be a suite of companies that are in healthcare technology, and that would allow us to really be more specific and targeted with our messaging in a way that's going to get a lot more traction with those accounts rather than this sort of, blast messaging that all the emails that I delete as soon as they hit my inbox, the marketing messages that I see online.
Absolutely, and the email solutions are becoming so much better at filtering out some of the stuff that you don't even care about. So kind of some of that traditional ways of marketing aren't even applicable anymore.
That's right.
So let's get in, you mentioned Predictive, so let's definitely touch on that. So it really is a complementary piece to account-based marketing. Can you tell us a little bit about why organizations should consider predictive analytics?
Yeah, so
what are some of the benefits?
What it means for us, it's one of the key pieces in being able to run ABM at scale. So without Predictive, we wouldn't know how to identify within over 100,000 accounts that are in our CRM, which ones we should be focused on. So Predictive allows us to, when we're doing an account allocation process with our sales team, so we run an owned account strategy, it allows
and your marketing team does that jointly with the sales team?
We do. We work very closely with sales on this. It's absolutely essential to getting ABM right. So we use Predictive to help surface those accounts that we should be allocating, the ones that the sales team wants to own. But also when accounts come in inbound, we still have a high volume of inbound accounts. Without the predictive signal, we wouldn't know whether this is an account that we should route to the sales team, or maybe it doesn't score high enough, so we want to put it in a nurture, wait for a stronger signal of interest before we say it's worth their time.
Got it, and you're talking a lot about kind of measurement piece. So in a world where we can measure so many different things and we're kind of bogged down by data sometimes, how do you focus in on the core metrics that you should be thinking about with this strategy?
So listen, I mean, there are a ton of metrics that you could use to evaluate.
Just tell me the core ones.
So starting at the top, we've replaced the marketing qualified lead with the marketing qualified account. So for us, that means it's an account that both looks like a buyer and acts like a buyer. So the predictive fit score, hey, this account is scoring in the A tier of accounts, it's one of our best accounts, and they're doing things that suggest buying interest. So you put those together, that's the marketing qualified account. We set goals for the business and the marketing team on MQA production. We have an assumption that you need a certain number of MQAs to create a certain amount of pipeline, and then that pipeline will turn into close one business at a certain rate. So we measure MQA production, we measure MQA to operate, so what percentage of MQAs become opportunities.
I got it.
In the old world, we measured MQL to op, now it's MQA to op. And then we do something where we actually stamp pipeline at the time that it's created with the level of marketing engagement.
Yeah.
So some pipeline comes from MQAs, some pipeline comes from warm accounts that weren't engaged enough to be an MQA, and then maybe there's some where marketing didn't really do a good job of engaging. It was entirely won by the sales team. So picture those 3 cohorts.
Yeah.
They all perform differently down the funnel.
And does that help you allocate kind of the marketing's contribution to revenue more, or
it helps us with that. It also,
do you get into fights kind of over who's
no,
done
I mean,
what,
honestly, since moving to ABM, marketing and sales at InsightSquared have never been anywhere nearly as closely aligned as we are today. I mean, we are talking to them so much more. There's so much more iteration and feedback. So it's not a this or that kind of question. It more just shows us that the MQA is the most valuable thing that marketing can do for the sales team. So it reinforces the idea that we should invest more in creating them. And the sales team knows, oh, the opportunities that we're engaged from a marketing perspective are much easier to win. So that makes them understand the value of what we're doing even more.
Definitely. Let me ask you a tougher question. So we talk so much about, I mean, there's great tools, there's great strategies coming out with account-based marketing, predictive analytics, and so much of this I think are very they're still a little bit traditional in that we're thinking about kind of the cloud customer, the way they buy, and thinking about pre-purchase, right? How do I generate demand, right? But with a SaaS-based offering, which so many of the companies, including Microsoft, are offering, how do we think about post-sale marketing? And does account-based marketing help us with that? So how do we actually generate customer lifetime value, loyalty, and how do we market to them to reduce churn and kind of keep that customer on an ongoing basis?
Yeah, so this certainly is one of the big benefits of an ABM program: upsells, cross-sells, reduce churn. You can use some of the same metrics to measure that. There's still the concept of an engaged account. So in the same way that prior to the sales process, an account that's showing a lot of activity on the site, they're on your product pages, your pricing pages, that's a pretty strong indication of a buyer. You can measure other signals post-sale. You can look at use of the product. You can still look at engagement in your content. I mean, that's something we measure pre-sale. I think that's a valuable signal post-sale. Are they reading your blog? Those accounts that are more deeply engaged after the sales cycle is complete are more likely to renew once that period comes up.
Awesome, great. So I think we talked about a ton of really great stuff here. Can you just kind of sum up the 3 key takeaways in terms of why a company should get started with predictive analytics and maybe how you would advise them to get going on that journey?
Yeah, so predictive for ABM, the first takeaway for us is, I mean, this works. We're less than a year into this journey, but we're really, really seeing encouraging results. So I would say, don't be held back by the fact that you've heard ABM is for large companies. Certainly don't be held back by the idea that this is a new area that hasn't, the path hasn't been laid out for any marketer who's trying to go down it. Alignment is, to me, the single biggest theme that comes out of it. Everyone loves talking sales and marketing alignment. You cannot get predictive ABM right without working very, very closely between marketing and sales. But there's this incredible virtuous cycle where as you do that, the 2 teams start working more closely together. You get better feedback from the sales team, and they are more engaged in the output that's coming from the marketing team, which makes the marketers happy. So you need alignment to do it right, but it also drives alignment. And then the last piece I would say, make sure that you know when you start down the path what results you're trying to drive. And you're moving really quickly, but I would encourage any organization to be set up to measure the success of the program so that you can justify further investments.
Absolutely, so clear metrics, so we're very clear on have we hit the objective and can we kind of pursue it further.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks to Adam. I think these are great tips on how you can think about using predictive analytics with an account-based marketing strategy, regardless of the size of your organization. So thanks a lot for your time today, Adam.
Thank you.